Hi, my name is Madison Anuski, and my project is on the ins and outs of pageantry in media. So, what will I be looking at in this particular project? Well, one, I'm going to show you how to walk like a pageant queen, because I feel like if you're here to learn about this, you might as well learn how to do the walk yourself. Then I'm going to look at the polls I did on my Instagram. It is a very small amount of people, but I think it's really important that you see what people's day-to-day opinions are, even when they're just seeing it in media. I then will be looking at Photoshop. How is it detrimental to the pageant world? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And my final thing is I'm going to look at 2 separate pageants and how they have evolved in the past few years. Okay, first step. Let me show you how to walk as a pageant queen. Let's talk about pageant stance. This is where you turn your feet out and pull your other foot into the middle of the other foot, having the heel touch the arch. This is an outward stance that you're seeing now. This is what you see during swimsuit a lot, and this is back into pageant stance, but with forward stance, which means that your foot is in front. This is the same exact thing on the other side, now with your toe picked, and that is an over stance, which is very flattering when you're in a swimsuit. It's also done commonly in outfit of choice. That's a step back, so you can see it overturned again. Okay, now let's look at a full circle. Starting in pageant stance, you walk all the way around yourself, keeping your hips forward towards the audience and towards the judges. Look back, and pose, and you're going to hit a second pose right here. Good. So this particular walk around is normally used in evening gown to allow you to have more space with your dress and show it off a little bit more. It also gives you a little more mobility because you are either wearing a ball gown or a gown with a train. Now let's take a look at a double half turn. So you step forward, pivot, and now you're going to take a step to the back with the same foot, step, turn to the front. That is a double half turn, most commonly done in swimsuit, but can be done in outfit of choice. Now let's look at it a little bit faster. Step forward, now step, turn. Good. Now let's demonstrate a common walk for swimsuit. So you do a double pose at the beginning, walk with your hips a little more sway, hip pose 1, good, now walk forward. You're going to do a double half turn, step forward, step back, hit. Then you're going to do 2 poses at the front, pose, again, and then you're going to step forward, do a little pivot turn, walk all the way to the back while you greet your audience, hit a pose, smile at your judges, and then continue to walk and pose twice. Whoa, okay, now that you've learned the walk, I know that was a super fast crash course, but I'm now going to get into the polls that I did on my Instagram. My first question on Instagram was, what are your honest thoughts on pageantry? And man, did that spark some answers. So the first comment I received was, it can be good or bad depending on the mindset and the pageant, which I think is really interesting because using the word mindset alone could refer to the pageant itself or the pageant queen. Going off the pageant itself, what is the pageant's goal for a winner? Are they body positive? Who do they have judging? And so many other factors, like what was the criteria that the judges were told to look out for? So I think that's a really great way to start because there is a lot more that goes into just judging itself that I'm not going to get into, but I think is a good note to have. So the next comment I received was a bit of a doozy, so I'm going to have to read it off of a piece of paper. Not to be rude, but I think it is a waste of money. You do not need to be judged to know your beauty. It's a lot of money, but if you enjoy getting all dressed up and have fun, that's all that matters. So there was a lot to unpack right there. So yes, pageantry is a lot of money and it is a luxury sport, but there's so much more that goes into pageantry, like volunteering. A lot of people don't know that most pageant queens are required to make at least every month at least 2 appearances volunteering or participating in the community. So I wound up having conversation with this person being like, hey, do you know these things? And she learned everything, and she's actually considering doing pageantry herself now. So I thought that was super cool. So yeah, pageantry is expensive, but it also doesn't have to be. The Miss Cinderella pageant only costs $100 to enter, and then all you have to do is have a dress and a talent, and you show up. You can get dresses at local thrift stores. I've done that in the past. You can go to places where they donate dresses. There's so many ways to make this sport affordable and accessible to all. And it's not just about beauty, it's truly about intellect nowadays. And there are pageants that it is still just about beauty, but there are so many others that are there about bringing and uplifting women, and I think that's so important. So one of my poll questions were, did you know that a big part of pageantry was volunteering? And as you know, as I just stated, pageantry, a lot of it is volunteer work, so it was very interesting to me that as somebody who's always posting about the volunteer work I do, that people on my media page didn't know that that was a huge part of the industry that I work in and advertise for almost twice a week. So I just wanted to show the other polls I did on my Instagram. So this is one of them. Would you want to do pageantry? And clearly the majority said no. This is the next question that I had. Do you think that pageantry is portrayed correctly in media? 19% said yes and 81% said no. And the final question is, do you think the pageantry world is toxic? 67% said yes and 33% said no. So those are all the polls that I'm going to show you for now. I'm now going to get into Photoshop and how toxic it can be in this industry and in any industry, if I'm telling you the truth. So for this section, I searched glitz headshots before and after editing. So this was the first image that popped up when I searched for that. You can see just from this image alone that this beautiful young child went from looking like a little kid to a Barbie doll advertisement, which is absolutely ridiculous because she was adorable before they put those 70 pounds of Photoshop onto her face. But this type of photo is only used in glitz pageants, which are like over glamazon pageants like toddlers and tiaras type things. Not nearly as dramatic in real life, but definitely as photoshopped in real life. So now I'm going to take you into Photoshop with me, and I'm going to edit a photo of myself to look basically like a different person, just making basically minor changes that aren't realistic in day-to-day life. So this is what it looks like when you open Facetune, and this is the picture I chose. I immediately go in with the refine feature and reshape my proportions in my waist, making my stomach look a lot slimmer, along with adjusting the lines as I go. I also use the reshape feature in a second to make those changes a little more drastic. Also, as you can see, I'm changing the proportions of other areas of my body to make it look proportionate. Then I went in and changed my entire jaw shape. This is not what my natural body looks like. It's super toxic to even think about it. And look, my waist already looks like a completely different thing from what we started with. If you can't tell already that I look like a different person, it's astounding how fast that these changes can be made. This whole video took me less than 2 minutes to edit this whole thing. You can see me going in, getting rid of any wrinkles, any blemishes that were on my skin. You can see me getting rid of the under eye bags from competing all day, getting rid of that little line so my jaw looks even more sharpened. Then I go in and whiten my teeth, change the entire color of my teeth that had just been whitened, and then I did the automatic to adjust anything else. I then added a filter. If you can't tell already, I look like a different person, but in just a second, you can see the original and the new. That is awful. As you can see, in the 2 short minutes I took to edit that photo, I changed so much about myself, and it looked like a normal person. That is a really bad mentality to have, but in this industry, it's a very common thing to Facetune your photos or Photoshop your photos to look better, to enhance your Instagram, to make your social media platform more polarizing, and that is not a good thing to be at all. It is a very toxic set, and I just thought it was a really good example to show you how bad Photoshop can really be. So what I'm going to talk about now are 2 pageants that I have either judged or been in. That way I can talk about from personal experience and give you a little bit of an outsider's perspective and an insider's perspective looking back on my time there. So the 2 pageants that I will be looking at is the Miss Barbizon pageant and the Miss American Teenager pageant. I personally judged the Miss Barbizon pageant, and I can tell you the experience of just being a judge, and I was in the Miss American Teenager pageant, so I can tell you what it's like being in the pageant setting. So, as a judge at the Miss Barbizon pageant, our instructions were when judging, if they can't change it in 30 seconds, then you can't judge negatively on it. So, if their dress is falling down, they can change that in 30 seconds by adding tape or pulling it up. So you want them to do that. They want to make adjustments. But if you're judging someone's weight, that's bad. That's a bad judge in their eyes. And I thought that was really important because they wanted to have people who were spokesmodels for their company, not just the average looking Joe. So here are the title holders that won that day. As you can see, they're completely different body types. You have the Junior Miss Barbizon, Miss Talent, you have Mr. Barbizon, and Miss Barbizon. You can see that these people are completely different. Each aspect, they're all different. They all look different, shapes and sizes, ages, everything. But the one thing that they all had in common is they were amazing, amazing talkers. When they hit their interview, which is primarily part of their score, it's one of the largest scores at that pageant, they shined. Their walks were phenomenal. They knew how to feel confident on the stage, which isn't easy. Getting up there in a very heavy evening gown, that is really intimidating. Anything could happen. The next pageant I'm going to talk about is Miss American Teenager. This pageant is personally really close to my heart. It was the first pageant system that I ever competed in, and it has grown so much since the first time I competed in there. I've grown so much since the first time I competed there, and it's truly such an amazing pageant, so shameless self-promo right there. This pageant's mantra is, fun is not an optional, but a requirement, and I absolutely love that, because it really shows that, like, it's not just about you winning a crown, because if you're heading to nationals, you already won, like, one crown. I won states at Pennsylvania, and that's what allowed me to compete, the pageant is very important. So this particular pageant has been at a plus size page. All of the meetings are on the size of the same page, which I do think is a critique that needs to be addressed. But I personally can't tell you what the judges were looking for, how they were looking, what their goal was. But if you have one, they have amazing employees, they're able to speak on stage confidently, and they're amazing interviews because they're able to go on stage and interview with them individually, which means that you get one-on-one exchange. Something that is so amazing about those pageants is that it's all about developing friendships and connections, which I think is so important in, like, the performance industry alone. One of the big things is that they're a sisterhood and they're not individuals. So every time there was an event at nationals, it was the sisterhood beach day, the sisterhood pajama party, because it was all about getting the girls together to become friends. That way, no matter win or lose, you have friends for life, and that's so important to me and so beautiful. So if you ever get a chance to do a pageant, do it. If you're afraid because you don't have coaching, hey, you can go message me on social media and be like, hey, I want to learn to do pageants. Can you talk to me? And I will work with you. If you ever get a chance, though, do it. My name's Madison Aneski, and I hope you have learned something today.